Welcome, fellow pothead, Joe Pal Puttyman here, and this is my official review for Captain Marvel. I didn't mess up that. I swear to God, you heard me right. My official review for DC's Captain Marvel. And I know a lot of people in my community message were confused, and you're probably confused watching this. So let me explain. But before I explain anything, if you want to skip to the actual review of Shazam, then I'm going to put the time on the screen right now. If you want to just go to the review there. But if you want to understand what I'm talking about when I say Captain Marvel, I'm not lying, guys. This is my official review of DC Comics Captain Marvel. Or better yet, Fawcett Publications of Captain Marvel. Let me start from the beginning. With a company that was, of course, Fawcett Publications or Fawcett Comics. So, understand, this is going to get kind of complicated, so I'm going to sum it up as best I can, and unfortunately, that's going to be summed up in about 4 to 5 paragraphs. So this is going to be a long review, but your minds will be blown when you hear everything I'm about to tell you, which makes it funny since Captain Marvel, the actual other Captain Marvel, came out last month. So anyway, hopefully you've skipped to that, and if not, then be ready. So, Fawcett Publications, or Wiz Comics, which was changed to that name later on, created a character named Captain Thunder. Now, that was later changed to Captain Marvelous, or nicknamed Captain Marvel. See, this all started in 1939 with the great success of Wiz Comics number 2, which was the cover date was set February 1940, and was published around the late dates of 1939. The comic's sledge feature introduced audiences to Billy Batson, an orphan 12-year-old boy who, by speaking in the name of the ancient wizard Shazam, is struck by a magic lightning bolt and transformed into the adult superhero Captain Marvel. Shazam's name was an acronym derived from the 6 immortal elders who granted Captain Marvel his superpowers: Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. But DC Comics felt that Captain Marvel resembled too much of their character Superman, and took out a lawsuit in 1941. Now, although the presiding judge decided that Captain Marvel was an infringement, DC was found to be negligent in copyrighting several of the Superman daily newspaper strips, and it was decided that DC had abandoned the Superman copyright. So as a result, the initial verdict delivered in 1951 went into Fawcett's favor, the company that made Captain Marvel, aka Shazam. So, DC Comics appealed this decision, and Judge Learnhand, which is the judge that was a part of that appeal, declared in 1952 that DC's Superman copyright was in fact valid. So Judge Hand did not find that the character of Captain Marvel itself was an infringement, but rather than the specific stories or super feats could be infringements, and this would have to be determined in a retrial. Now, instead of retrying the case, however, Fawcett, the guys that made Captain Marvel, settled with DC Comics out of court. And feeling that this decline in popularity of superhero comics in 1949 meant that it was no longer worth continuing with the fight. So Fawcett agreed to permanently cease publication of comics with the Captain Marvel related characters, which aka Shazam, and to pay DC Comics $400,000 in damages. Now, in the 1950s, a small British publisher, and again, this is more confusing, L. Miller & Son, published a number of black and white reprints of American comic books, including the Captain Marvel series. With the outcome of the DC vs. Fawcett lawsuit, L. Miller & Son found that the supply of Captain Marvel material abruptly cut off. They requested the help of a British comic writer, Mike Anglo, who created a thinly disguised version of the superhero called Marvel Man. Captain Marvel Jr. was adapted to create young Marvel Man, while Mary Marvel had her gender changed to create the male Kid Marvel Man, and the magic word Shazam was replaced with Komoda, aka Atomic spelled backwards. So the new characters took over the numbering of the original Captain Marvel's United Kingdom series with issue number 25, and Marvel Man ceased publication in 1963, but the character was revived in 1982 by writer Alan Moore and the pages of the Warrior magazine. Now, just to confuse you even more, in 1966, MF Enterprises produced their own Captain Marvel, an android superhero from another planet whose main characteristic was the ability to split his body into several parts, each of which could move on its own. He triggered the separation by shouting "split," and reassembled himself, by shouting "Zam." He had a young human ward named Billy Baxton, which sounds it's a B-A-X-T instead of B-A-S-T-O-N, basically a different spelling of Billy Batson. And this short-lived Captain Marvel was credited in the comic as being based on the character created by Carl Burgos. Legal issues of Marvel Comics over the use of Marvel in the title led to MF ceasing publication after 5 issues and accepting a $4,500 settlement from Marvel. Still not done. With superhero comics becoming popular again in the mid-1960s and what is now called the Silver Age of comic books, Fawcett was unable to revive Captain Marvel, having agreed to never publish the character again as part of their 1953 settlement. Looking for new properties to introduce to the DC Comics line, DC publisher Carmen Infantino, I can never pronounce that name, decided to bring the Captain Marvel property back into print, and in 1972 he licensed the characters from Fawcett, but because Marvel Comics had by this time established Captain Marvel as a comic book and trademark for their own character, created and first published in 1967, DC published their book under the name Shazam. So Infantino attempted to give the Shazam book the subtitle of the original Captain Marvel, but a cease and desist letter from Marvel Comics forced him to change the subtitle to The World's Mightiest Mortal, starting with Shazam number 15. So, just to state, the character of Shazam was the original Captain Marvel, and then the Captain Marvel license was gone. The character of Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, was not gone, but Shazam, the character, is actually the wizard that gives the kid the powers of Captain Marvel. But because Marvel owns the name of Captain Marvel, they can't use the name of Captain Marvel in the name because Marvel owns the name to Captain Marvel. And that is the story of Captain Marvel and Shazam. So when I say I just saw the movie of Captain Marvel, I'm not joking. His name is still credited as Captain Marvel. If you actually look on Google, you actually will see that the character is not Shazam, Captain Marvel. And the guy that's actually credited as Shazam is the same guy that played the character from Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not getting into that whole thing. That's just confusing altogether. So, anyway, with that, we are going to go ahead and start off with the official review. Now, if you're just coming in and you wonder why I'm tired, it's because if you look, that was a 7-minute, or I'm saying roughly a 6-minute information of why I call it Captain Marvel. And if you have any idea of what I'm talking about, then you understand why. And if you don't, well, you kind of skipped over some important details. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into the review. And this is what I want to state proudly. DC Comics, the creators of Shazam, aka Captain Marvel, did a great job. And what I mean, this is the road to a good film. I felt there was a great balance. That was enjoyable. Kids are going to love this. They're going to want to be, aka Shazam, Captain Marvel, however you want to look at it, okay? They're going to want to be this character. And the thing is because it's still Captain Marvel, but can't be called the film Captain Marvel, the superhero is still called Captain Marvel. That only changes to Captain Marvel when he says the word Shazam. So in that means that this film is still Captain Marvel. That's why I said when people were confused by Captain Marvel, you can understand my confusion, okay? So, in general, I want to state this. Based on the old comics by Fawcett, and again, if you didn't read listen to my first part, then you're going to get a little confused. But based on the original comics by Fawcett, they did great. Fantastic. First and foremost, Zachary Levi as Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, is amazing. He does a great job of playing that innocence where he's a kid that's in a human body. It feels like a superhero version of Big. It's the best way I can explain it without spoiling anything. Superhero version of Big, you know what I mean? And if you haven't seen Big, look it up. It's a movie with Tom Hanks made back in the 80s. It's a lot like that, but it's much funner, okay? Next thing I want to say is Asher Angel as Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, the younger version when he's not the superhero one. He's a really good actor, actually. He's really good at. I don't feel like his sadness comes through too much. I feel like that there's a little. He might be new at that, but you really see his angst, his anger, and his relationship with any parts of his family, whatever family it might be, and that goes into the villain. Now, the villain has changed from the comic book. I'm not going to say how much it's changed, but Mark Strong plays Dr. Savannah. Dr. Savannah is after Shazam for his powers. That's all I'm going to state. I'm not going to state how he comes into all of this, because they did alter the origin of him greatly when it comes to the comic book. But other than that, I don't want to explain how. That's something you guys are going to have to see for yourself. If you actually are familiar with the story, then I don't want to spoil it for you at all. Digimon Husan, that's the one I actually told you was in Guardians of the Galaxy. He plays Shazam. Now again, I know this is confusing when I'm stating, but if you actually read the first part, listen to the first part, then you understand where I'm going with this. He actually did a great job of playing, I'm going to call it the Wizard. And, you know, honestly, the biggest thing I go out with this is there's a lot of confusion. It's confusion if you're not familiar with the comic outside of, okay, let me rephrase this. I'm really confusing you guys already. You're going to enjoy this movie without having read the comic. Nothing is going to be confusing. For someone like me that's read that's familiar with the story but not really read the original comics, only read the later DC volumes, I understand the confusion. But when I did my homework, I already knew his name was Captain Marvel before I even did my homework. But I couldn't remember the origin. So the stuff that I read to you was me basically summing it down from Wikipedia. Wikipedia has a full page explaining this. I had to dumb it down. I don't want to say dumb it down. That's an improper word. I had to sum it down smaller, so I can make it easier for you guys to understand, because there's a lot more that went into the legal battles of just the name Captain Marvel. And it blows my mind how much it happened. But as far as how it changes this movie, nothing. That's the great thing. This movie is fantastic. It brings out their inner child. It's a great movie. I give it the Captain Marvel review, you know, as far as like I feel excitement in that way. But what makes this great? It's a good launch for DC. It brings in a charm that they need in the DC universe, the fun-loving kid point of view, what made superhero movies great for kids. But at the same time, there's a lot of good jokes in there that some adults will catch that a lot of the kids are not going to understand. So that's what makes it very enjoyable as an adult when I was watching it. And I will admit there was a tearjerker towards the end. I'm not going to explain why, but there was. So in general, this is an absolutely delightful movie. Aquaman and Shazam is leading in the proper way with DC movies. And this is the way they should have done this. They should have done these movies small individually and then lead in Justice League. Don't focus so much on all these superheroes. Give us new stuff. Give us stuff we haven't seen before. Shazam and Aquaman are in the right track. And I can't wait to see what Warner Brothers, aka DC, are going to do when it comes to these movies. So most definitely, this is a great movie. This is way better than Suicide Squad. This is way better than Justice League. This is way better than Batman vs. Superman. This is even, in some ways, in my eyes, a little bit better than Aquaman. It's actually about the same belt of Aquaman. My inner child went fantastically crazy with this. It is a fantastic joyride to behold, and if you want to have fun at the movie theaters, it's definitely it. But I will say this, it's not going to be Endgame. Right now, it's going to enjoy the ride it's on, but once April 25th hits, I hate to say it, but Shazam's going to crash. And let's enjoy it while we can. So if you want to have a great fun time before Endgame gets here, then definitely go see Shazam. It's worth it. So with that, we are going to go into the spoiler part of the review. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up that spoiler part on top of the screen and let you guys get adjusted, and I'll be with you guys in just a second. Okay, we still here? Awesome. So here's the thing I want to get into. If you guys are confused and never seen this, if you've seen the movie, and come back to my spoiler review, okay? First and foremost, Dr. Sivana in the comic books is just a mad scientist. The 7 Deadly Sins situation is actually not in the comic books, so they kind of changed it for that. But I'm okay with that. It fit perfectly with the plot of everything. It fit good with the story. What I'm excited about is several things. One, the whole Superman at the end leading into it. Two, the Marvel family. Now, the Marvel family was these characters that were created back when Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, or Captain Marvel when it was with Fawcett Productions, that actually was a family of Shazam characters, okay, or Marvel characters. You know, Miss Marvel, Kid Marvel, Mary Marvel, things of that nature, okay? So they actually have that. In the end, when you see all of them touch the staff and they all become Marvel characters, that is their tribute to the Marvel family, okay? And I'm not talking about Marvel Comics. I'm talking about Marvel family as in Shazam, Marvel, Captain Marvel kind of thing. Now the worm, the caterpillar that you're seeing on the end there is actually called Mr. Mind. Mr. Mind is a super intelligent caterpillar that ends up taking over control of a huge conglomerate of characters named the Monster Society of Evil. And it actually includes some crazy characters, like Hitler's in this group. No joke, okay? Now, there's characters like Mr. Who, Romulus, Ohm the Mighty, and then again, other characters like I told you before. Adolf Hitler has a thing in this. Captain Nazi, Crocodile Man. There's a lot of characters that are involved in this that have intertwined also with the Marvel Universe, but a lot of these started within the Fawcett production. So the reason this is all confusing is because of the Fawcett publications and them merging it in with the DC brand. And I can get deep into that. I don't want to, because it's a lot to go through. Also, at the end of the movie, at the end of the credits, if you're wondering what they're joking about, clearly, if you don't understand, I'll have to explain it. They're basically making a joke on Aquaman, guys. That is a hilarious joke on Aquaman, and it's honestly the best connection they can do. Aquaman and Wonder Woman are the two best movies so far DC has done, outside of the Nolan Batman series. And putting Shazam in there is great. Shazam is worth being in there. So Suicide Squad, Man of Steel, When it comes to Wonder Woman, yes. When it comes to Batman vs Superman, no. When it comes to the Justice League, no. But Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Shazam, these are the three movies that need to represent DC, and at the same time, stop forcing Justice League. If you make movies like this and hint at the Justice League, you're gonna be on the right track as Marvel, and that is a good track, guys. That is a good track. So, there you guys have it. Now, April 25th, you guys have already seen this review, and you guys saw the beginning. Endgame is coming, guys. This is now Superhero Month, guys. April 25th is Endgame. I'm on that hype train. So with that, I thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. Hopefully, I'm sorry for the long review. I need to get out there. Sorry about the explanation in the beginning. I need to get out there. I love you guys. I gotta get on some Fortnite and get this review done for you guys. So I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I hope you enjoyed the review. And as always, I'm Puttyman with Gamer Potheads. And do not forget, we're all about to high score. Peace out, and I'll talk to y'all later.